So I wanted to do a video talking about how I rationalize understanding plugins and how I read them and can tell how to install them based off of how they are structured. So here we're looking at MIF Tools, which is the container of mirror tools, one of my favorite tools, and we see that the core structure is a little bit unusual. So we can download it by clicking on code and choose download zip. And on this side we are looking at power snapping pies, which we're going to download by clicking on code and choosing download zip. So after downloading them, we have each of these add-ons downloaded and we can begin discussing them. However, before that I want to discuss the anatomy of an add-on. For example, for power snapping pies, whenever it was downloaded, it gave us a folder and then it gave us a pie inside of it. However, this pie more than likely did not require a folder. It's more than likely a standalone py file. Now, if we look at MIF Tools, which we downloaded, we see that it gave us a series of folders, and none of these folders actually contains a init file. And what this means is that there's no way for Blender to initialize it as an add-on, indicating that this structure is not an add-on structured system. So if we go inside of Mirror Tools, we see that the first file is the init.py. And what this means is that if we drag this folder into our add-ons, Blender will scan Mirror Tools, it will open the init.py, it will register all of these files, thus installing and enabling Mirror Tools. For power snapping pies, this file itself is the init.py. So just having this present allows it to be initialized by Blender. The reason I have HardOps open as a zip is to demonstrate how we are structured. So we look at our folder. If we double click it, we see that there's an init.py, which means that this is an add-on, meaning you drag this over into your add-ons, Blender will recognize the folder, register based off of the init, and from there you are good to go. So to show this in action as far as installation goes, let's press Windows and R to bring up our Windows and R. And we're just going to go to our app data because we're using advanced installation methods now. We're going to go to Blender 3.3 scripts, add-ons, and here we are with our add-ons. So if we wanted to install HardOps or update HardOps, we could just delete the old folder, get rid of it, and just drag the new folder over into this folder. And basically just like that we have installed HardOps. For power snapping pies, like I said, this does not require a shell folder, because if it has a shell folder, that means inside there needs to be a file called init.py for it to be initialized. Otherwise, it is a standalone Python file. And over here in MIF Tools, I've already discussed how this is a series of tools caught up in one repository, and that the tool that we actually want is Mirror Tools, which has an init.py one layer deep. And what this means is that we just drag this over, and now we have installed Mirror Tools. So let's test this out. We open up Blender, already configured the way we want because the window is exactly where I want it, and we can press F4 to open up our preferences, and we already have HardOps and Boxcutter enabled. Let's search for let's type snap for power snap pies. We have our snapping pies. Let's type in MIRA for mirror, and Mirror Tools is already enabled. And what this means is that if we click on the hops icon and we look at the keys, we see that there's a hotkey for Control-Shift-tilde for mirror curve stretch helper. So let's stretch this out in edit mode, put a couple of loops, select the loop, Control-Shift-tilde, and we are able to quickly jump in and start messing with some Mirror Tools to deal with curve stretching, which is one of my favorite actions to do inside of Blender. It's just so nice and organic, feels good to do it every time. Just one of my favorite things to do. But just like that, we have went in, analyzed these add-ons, and installed them according to the way that they are structured. So just another way you can look at your add-ons whenever it comes to installing them. But when it comes to Blender, Blender is relatively simple whenever it comes to installation approaches. You can install from file, which is one way, or you can just drag the folder into the add-ons folder or the file into the add-ons folder, depending on how it is structured.